Random House Audio presents A Redbird Christmas. This is the author, Fannie Flagg. The Windy City. It was only November the 9th, but Chicago had just been hit with its second big blizzard of the season, and Mr. Oswald T. Campbell guessed he had stepped in every ice-cold, ankle-deep puddle of dirty white slush it was possible to step in, trying to get to his appointment. When he finally arrived, he had used up every cuss word in his rather large vocabulary of cuss words, owing in part to his short stint in the Army. He was greeted by the receptionist and handed a clipboard. "We've received all your medical records and insurance forms, Mr. Campbell, but Dr. Obachek likes to have a short personal history of his new patients, so could you please fill out this for us?" Oh, God, he thought, why do they always make you fill something out? But he nodded cordially and sat down and started. Name: Oswald T. Campbell. Address: Hotel de Soto, 1428 Lennon Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Sex: male. Age: 52. Hair: some red. Eyes: blue. Height: 5'8". Weight: 161. Marital status: divorced. Children: no, thank God. Closest living relative: ex-wife, Mrs. Helen Gwynn, 1457 Hope Street, Lake Forest. Please list your complaints below. The Cubs need a new second baseman. There were many more questions to fill out, but he just left them blank, signed his name, and handed it back to the girl. Later, after his examination was over, as he sat shivering in a freezing room, wearing nothing but a backless, thin gray cotton gown, a nurse told him to get dressed and the doctor would meet him back in his office. Not only was he chilled to the bone and sore from just having been probed and prodded in many rude places, but now, to make matters worse, when he tried to put his shoes and socks back on, they were still ice-cold and sopping wet. He tried to wring the excess water out of his socks and managed to drip dye all over the floor. It was then he noticed that the dye from his socks had stained his feet a nice dark blue. "Oh, great," he muttered to himself, and threw them in the trash basket and squished down the hall in cold, wet leather shoes. As he sat in the office waiting, he was bored and uncomfortable. There was nothing to read, and he couldn't smoke because he had lied to the doctor and told him he had given them up. He wriggled his toes, trying to get them warm, and glanced around the room. Everywhere he looked was gray. It was gray outside the office window and gray inside the office. Would it kill them to paint the walls a different color? The last time he had been at the Veterans Hospital, a woman had come in and given a talk on how colors affect the mood. What idiot would pick gray? He hated going to doctors anyway, but his insurance company required that he have a physical once a year so some new bozo could tell him what he already knew. The doctor he had just seen was at least friendly and had laughed at a few of his jokes, but now he just wished the guy would hurry up. Most of the doctors they sent him to were old, ready to retire, or just starting out and in need of guinea pigs to practice on. This one was old, 70 or more, he guessed. Maybe that's why he was taking so long. Gray walls, gray rug, gray gown, gray doctor. Finally the door opened and the doctor came in with his test results. Oswald said, "So, Doc, will I be able to run in the Boston Marathon again this year?" This time the doctor ignored Oswald's attempt to be humorous and sat down at his desk looking rather somber. "Mr. Campbell," he said, "I'm not too happy about what I have to tell you. I usually like to have a family member present at a time like this. I see you have listed your ex-wife as immediate family. Would you like for me to call and see if she can come over?" Oswald suddenly stopped wiggling his toes and paid attention. "No, that's all right. Is there a problem?" "I'm afraid so," he said as he opened his folder. "I've checked and rechecked your charts and records. I even called in an associate from down the hall to consult. Unfortunately, he's agreed with my diagnosis. Mr. Campbell, I'm going to tell it to you straight. In your present condition, you won't live through another Chicago winter. You need to get out of here to a milder climate as soon as possible, because if you don't, well, frankly, I'm not sure I would give you till Christmas." "Huh," Oswald said, as if he were thinking it over. "Is that right?" "Yes, it is. I'm sorry to report that since your last checkup, the emphysema has progressed to the critical stage. Your lungs were already so badly damaged and scarred from the childhood tuberculosis, plus all the years of heavy smoking, chronic bronchitis. I'm afraid all it would take is one bad cold going into another bout of pneumonia." "Is that right? Huh," Oswald said again. "That doesn't sound too good." The doctor closed his file and leaned forward on his desk, looked him right in the eye and said, "No, it doesn't. And in all honesty, Mr. Campbell, considering the alarming rapidity with which this condition has progressed, even with you going to a better climate, the most optimistic prognosis I can give you is a year, maybe 2. "You're kidding," said Oswald. He shook his head. "No, I'm afraid not. At this stage, the emphysema is a strain on your heart and all your other organs. It's not just the lungs that are affected. Now, I'm not telling you this to scare you, Mr. Campbell. I only tell you so you have time to make all the appropriate plans. Get your estate in order." As stunned as he was at the news, Oswald almost laughed out loud at the word estate. He had never had more than $250 in the bank in his entire life. The doctor continued, "Believe me, I wish the diagnosis had been better." And the doctor meant it. He hated having to hand out bad news. He had just met Mr. Campbell, but he had liked the little guy at once. "Are you sure you don't need me to call anyone for you?" "No, that's all right." "How will this news affect your future plans, Mr. Campbell?" Oswald looked up at him. "Pretty damn adversely, I would say, wouldn't you?" The doctor was sympathetic. "Well, yes, of course. I just wondered what your future plans may have been." "I didn't have anything particular in mind, but I sure as hell hadn't planned on this." "No, of course not. I knew I wasn't the picture of health, but I didn't think I was headed for the last roundup." "Well, as I said, you need to get out of Chicago as soon as you can, somewhere with as little pollution as possible." Oswald looked puzzled. "But Chicago is my home. I wouldn't know where else to go." "Do you have any friends living somewhere else? Florida? Arizona?" "No. Everybody I know is here." "Ah, and I assume you're on a limited budget." "Yeah, that's right. I just have my disability pension." "Uh-huh. And I suppose Florida might be too expensive this time of year." Never having been there, Oswald said, "I would imagine." The doctor sighed and leaned back in his chair, trying to think of some way to help him out. "Well, let's see. Oh, wait a minute. There was a place my father used to send all his lung patients, and as I remember, the rates were pretty reasonable." He looked at Oswald as if he knew. "Oh, what was the name of that place? It was close to Florida." Then the doctor suddenly remembered something and stood up. "You know what? I've still got all his old files in the other room. Let me go and see if by any chance I can find that information for you." Oswald sat and stared at the gray wall. Leave Chicago? He might as well leave the planet. It was already dark and still freezing cold when...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?